Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Angie, and this is Cover Spines and Pages. And maybe it's not morning where you are when you get this video. Today we're doing a productivity and reading day. I am off work today. It's a Thursday, so having today off is blissful. Actually, I was off yesterday. I'm off through the rest of the week, so I have a 5-day weekend, and that really makes me want to curl up and not do anything but read. And it snowed, which is amazing because it's mid-February and we haven't had hardly any snow this year. So anyway, I have a number of things that I have to get done today. I also have about 140 pages, 130 pages of a book to read before a book club tonight. I'm reading Coffin Moon by Keith Rosson. I don't know. I'm not really sure how he pronounces that, but I'm struggling with this a little bit. It's not a bad book. It reads really fast, and it's a horror, and I like horrors. It's well written. I'm just really not in the mood for it, which makes it kind of difficult. But I've put this off all month, and so yeah, I am the day of, because I'm a chronic procrastinator in that way. And I've got to figure out how to get all these pages read and still get some things done that have to be done today. So, pardon me, find a place for that book. Anyway, what I did today was I made a spinner wheel of the things that I absolutely have to get done. And I got this idea from Krista at Books and Jams. I will link her channel below in case you want to check out her content. I really enjoy most of the things that she puts out, so maybe you will too. Anyway, she's been doing sprints on YouTube, and when she does them, she does reading, but also has productivity things on a spinner wheel that she does so that she gets to her to-do list. And I just thought that was a fabulous idea. I'm stealing it for today because there's some things on this list I just can't procrastinate on. The spinner wheel is going to pick something that I need to do, and I will do that. And once I've done that task, I can go read for a little bit. I think I will probably set a page number, or like a number of pages that I can read before I have to get up and spin the wheel again. Otherwise, I will just continue to read and I won't get anything done. And I don't have a whole lot of time today because I slept in a little bit, which is unusual for me, but it's nice to do when you have a midweek day off. And I overslept. And then I like to sit down and watch a couple of my favorite YouTube creators before I start my day when I can. So I did that, made some coffee, fed the dogs, got dressed, talked to the husband, and here it is. I don't even know what time it is right now, but it's definitely later than I had intended to get started. I still need to go to the chiropractor today and would love to get to the gym today because my goal was to get there every day in February, and I haven't done that. So anyway, let's get this spinner wheel queued up. Okay, so I probably should have done that before I even started this whole process. But anyway, I have a few things on here that probably should be done earlier rather than later, but I think we can make this work. Even if I end up doing some of these tomorrow, they'll be okay. But so I have on here laundry, which I've actually already started that because I'll need clean clothes for later. I'm half wearing pajamas right now. Then I've got to prep for my Sunday school class because I'm teaching that tomorrow. I need to figure out how to get my college transcripts to the University of Oregon, and that's because I have been going to the University of, or Southern New Hampshire University, and I am changing schools. And I have that school plus another school that I need to get my transcripts to Oregon State University so that they can prepare what classes I'm going to be taking next. And last time I had to go through this, it was simple. I just got on a website and picked the schools that I needed transcripts transferred from, and that was that. But I have not had that much luck this time around. So hopefully I find something as simple as that. But either way, one of the schools has not been particularly easy to get a hold of or figure out how to get through to because my login information has disappeared because they changed platforms or something stupid like that. And anyway, it's something that I would love to procrastinate, but I don't have a lot of time because the term ends or the term starts the end of March. I also need to place a grocery order today. I need to clean the filter out in my washing machine. Then I need to catalog my ebooks and or my audiobooks. I spent yesterday cataloging all of my physical copies or most of my physical copies. I'm not even done with that project yet either, but we're into February now and I don't even have a tracking sheet set up so I can get stats, and I really wanted to make sure that I can do that. So that's on here. If that gets put off till tomorrow, that's great. But the spinner wheel will ultimately decide what gets done and in what order. So let's give this thing a spin because I am talking too much. Place my grocery order. All right. Well, that's easy enough to do. So I will be right back. Okay. Well, that was probably the easiest thing to pick today overall. So I didn't even leave my chair or leave my room, and I'm not going to take reading time after that because really not earned. Not earned yet, not for the 5 minutes that took, considering I'd already put most of the things I needed in there yesterday and the day before. So, yeah. But it needed to be done, and I would have forgot or put it off or something until it was too late. And I would get up tomorrow morning and not have coffee filters, and that would make me sad. Okay. Next spinner wheel item. So, school transcripts. That is good, and that one will actually take me some time. So, I'm going to head on into the house and start that process, and then I will be back on for reading time because I'm going to need this phone to do my phone calls. So, you won't get to see any of that happen. But moving on. So, that project took much longer than I expected it would. I mean, I knew it was going to be a challenge. I have been struggling with getting the transcripts from the first school that I went to college at. And it really hasn't even been that long since I went there. So it's kind of silly. But anyway, I am done with that, or at least as much as I'm able to do today until I start getting emails from organizations with next steps and things to do. So I am back in my original reading nook because I'm going to kick back and read for a little bit. I apologize. You're probably going to hear some doggy doors slapping, probably some water drinking soon because I cannot film a video in here without my dogs doing some of those things, which is part of the reason why I created a studio out in the garage for videos. I am a little over 50% of the way through Coffin Moon by Keith Rawson. And like I said earlier, I'm not particularly in the mood to be reading this, but I am I am at the end of the cycle for this book club, and we're going to talk about it tonight. So I just need to sit down and power through it, which is unfortunate. Like, I would probably really enjoy this book if I was reading it when I was in the mood for it, which is just one of those things that happens with book clubs. And when I'm participating in online book clubs, I don't have any qualms with just bowing out for a month. This happens to be it's very new to me. I haven't actually been to a meeting yet, and I really want to go and get to know the people. So whether I actually get through this whole book or not, I'm going to go. But it would behoove me to read it so that don't I don't get spoilers, because at some point I would want to read it and know how it ends. So I'd be sad if I had spoilers. And now my dogs are walking around in the kitchen with clackety clack doggy toenails. So I just don't know how to video without doggy presence. But okay, so I'm going to sit down, and I think it's already it's after 10:30, so I don't have a whole lot of hours to work with. So I'm going to try to get through. I'm going to give myself an hour, I think, of reading and just power through as much as I can in an hour. We'll see how it's going from there. Just so that you have an idea a little bit about what I'm reading in case you're curious. Coffin Moon is a horror story about vampires. We're following a main male character that has custody of his niece, and something awful happens to their family members, and they are trying to hunt a vampire. I don't really want to go into too much about it, because I feel like anything that I tell you about what led into that and how they're on this journey is really just a spoiler. And that's probably my biggest qualm with trying to do book vlogs or things like that online, is I feel like everything's a spoiler, because to me, anything that isn't on the first page or on the synopsis, which I don't even read, is a spoiler for me. Like, I like everything to be new and exciting and interesting to me. So I I have read this synopsis. It was quite some time ago, so I couldn't even tell you if anything that I would divulge is already on the back or not. But anyway, I will check back in after my hour. We'll talk a little bit about what I read, if it's not too spoilery, and then we'll spin the wheel and see what's next. Okay, so I don't know exactly how long I've been reading. I've probably progressed about 30 to 35 pages through Coffin Moon, and I'm feeling antsy, and I'm ready to move on to the spinner wheel and to do something else. I'm struggling with the book a little bit because the plot just isn't moving forward very quickly. The author keeps going into backstories for the main characters, which I can understand. It's kind of important. It would be maybe a boring book without it, but it's only a 300-page book, so I need to see forward movement with the plot a little more significantly than what's happening right now. And it's hard to stay invested. And part of that is probably because I'm in a hurry. So I will blame myself in some for this reason and the fact that I'm reading a book that I'm not entirely in the mood to read. But as a very short book that is like should be more like a thriller, horror, something along those lines, it needs pace, and I'm just not finding that right now. So anyway, I think my husband might walk in the door any minute, and then this video will just have to stop. So I'm going to get straight to my spinner wheel, and we can see what my next thing is before I get some more reading time. So the next thing I need to do is go prep for my Sunday school class. And I really needed this time because I've known about this for a couple of weeks and I've been putting it off because I'm just a procrastinator that way, but we've talked about that already. So I'm going to go focus on this particular project for at least an hour before I can go back to reading my book. And I think part of the problem with today is I've created a system that should be a reward for completing projects, and I'm not having enough fun with this book for it to feel like a reward. I guess that's the way it goes. Okay, so I will check back in after I'm done with my next project. Okay, so I just spent, I don't know, probably 2 hours working on my lesson for Sunday. And I got a good chunk of it done. I definitely have some more work, but I still have a couple of days. I have a good structure. I know basically what I'm going to present, and I've just got some materials to put together. So I will work on that either tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to leave it on my spinner wheel. If it comes up next, I don't know. Maybe I'll just take it off my spinner wheel and maybe I'll make a new one for tomorrow. But I definitely need to get back to it. And I don't want to wait until Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night because that's probably what I would do if I don't do something that inclines me to get back to it and finish it. So the problem is that I'm not teaching kids. Kids are pretty easy. You give them materials to work with and just keep their little hands engaged the whole time, and then they're usually easy to get through a class. Plus, little kids don't have 2-hour faith formation classes like adults do. So I have to come up with something engaging and worthwhile for about 2 hours worth of class for grown-ups, which I find really challenging. And every time I do this, I always wonder why I said yes or volunteered to do it. And then I'm always grateful that I got the opportunity once it's over with. But the anxiety leading up to it's always a bit much. But anyway, I feel better because I did get a good amount of it prepared. And now I get some reading time, and it's getting late. I think it's It's got to be after one or I don't even know what time it is. Like I'm just not keeping track that well, but it's getting late and I'm running out of time. So I'm going to sit down and power read for a while. I Everything else that's on my list can probably wait until the after my book club and or even until tomorrow. So the most important things that were super time sensitive and needed to be done today are done. So yay, pat myself on the back because I deserve that. And I'm just going to try to sit down and relax, and maybe I'll enjoy reading if I don't feel like there's so many other super pressing important things that I need to do right now. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so it is the next day in the afternoon, actually, because we've had kind of a busy couple of days. I did finish. I did finish Coffin Moon in time for my book club in town, and I have quite a few thoughts on this book, and I will be fair in saying that at this point I've had a good amount of time to think about it, plus bounce ideas off of a group of people. That being said, the ideas or the thoughts I have on this book are my own and not those of the people that were at the club. I just want to put that out there. So, Coffin Moon by Keith Rawson. I thought that this book was good in that it was a quick, easy to read, fast paced, mostly story. I think there was a lot of lost opportunity with this story. So it follows a couple of the two main characters. There's multiple main characters, but the two main characters, for lack of any better way to say it, there is a man by the name of Duane, and he has custody of his niece, Julia. And they have a big tragedy happen at the beginning, and it turns into this big revenge story. And as you probably already know, this is a story about vampires. And so they are out to get revenge on this vampire that basically ruined their lives. I don't want to get too much into it outside of that because there's not a lot of meat to this story, and pretty much anything that I tell you is a spoiler. But the main characters were both, in my opinion, pretty annoying. Duane, who is the adult in this, it dives a bit into PTSD. He is a returned soldier from Vietnam. He was drafted into Vietnam, which I think was kind of a way of painting him as somebody that wasn't this big, courageous soldier. Or at least that was how I interpreted it. And he really is a bit of a sniveler through this whole book. And I just didn't like him. And Julia was a stupid teenager that made stupid preteen teenage mistakes. I think she's actually 12 in this book. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to love a book that you just don't like the main protagonists in at all. Then there are lots of pieces to this story that are thrown out there and then just not vetted out very well. They like this big thing happens and then oh, that was it. So it just didn't really get into anything like the, the really big fights and or big battles or whatever you want to call them in the case with a vampire just were built up to be something big and then didn't end up taking up enough space, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. So I really didn't love this as much as I think I could have. It had potential if they had gone into some of these various stories that were just thrown out there and really worked those out. It's kind of funny to say it, but this book needed a couple hundred more pages to be good. Other than that, it's more like just watching a 1980s or 1990s vampire movie. And that's it, which in that sense was entertaining enough. And I think I ended up rating it 3.5 stars on Fable and 3 stars on Goodreads. And the book club rates from 1 to 10. I gave it a 7. So 3.5, which is probably a little bit generous for this book. So anyway, that is my take on Coffin Moon. So next month for March, and we're actually meeting in mid-March, so I've only got about 3 weeks, but we are reading The Sorrow Stones by Felix Blackwell. I know literally nothing about this book so far. I have not read the synopsis. I bought it at the indie bookstore that we hold our book club meetings at. And I think I'm just, the cover's really intriguing. I mean, let's see if I can get a better grip on this. That face. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to expect, but a couple of people that were at the meeting last night said that they had started it already and that they were loving it, that it was a really good book. And most of those people kind of have the same opinions of Coffin Moon as I did. So I'm hoping that maybe some similar tastes are there and that they might be right and I will enjoy this. So aside from that, I got a few things done with my spinner wheel yesterday. I got through the college registration things I needed to do. I got most of my church lesson prepared for Sunday. I think I said something about teaching it tomorrow earlier when I was filming. But I got my groceries ordered and picked up, and I don't even remember if there was anything else. I did laundry, even though I didn't do it from the spinner wheel, but that got done too. So I had a productive day yesterday. And today we decided to make a road trip to Bozeman, and which is a couple of hours away. We went there specifically just to go to a grocery store that has good produce that I like to go to, and there's an indie bookstore I wanted to visit, and we had lunch. And so it was kind of a short trip out there, but I like road trips, so that was part of the fun for me. And while I was at that indie bookstore, I can't walk away from an indie without supporting them, so I picked up The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is on my want to read list, and now it is on my physical TBR. So now I am currently reading. I was going to take this down. So I am currently reading The Poet Empress. I'm really excited about this one, and I'm a few chapters into it, and so far it's very engaging, very intriguing, and so I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you on this book when I'm done with it. It will be replacing The Sword of Kaigen for a prompt for the deck of TBR-a-thon that I am doing. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I will move on to My Friends by Frederick Bachman, which once I read those two books, and then I have an audiobook that I'm listening to for the X Vows. I haven't got a lot of time to listen to that because all the time I've been spending with my husband, it's really not his kind of book. So we've been listening to one of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books instead. But as long as I can get some time to listen to that in the rest of the weekend, I think I will get that read in the time frame I have left for this particular readathon. And then I've got a couple of other things on my TBR for the month. I think I actually might get through a good chunk of the 18 books that I picked out for this month. I am pretty impressed with how on top of it I've actually stayed. I did go off track with one book because I picked up an arc and I read it right away, which seems to be the best thing for me to do. If I get an arc, I really should just read it as soon as I get it. But this particular one I did because it comes out in the beginning of March, and you've probably already seen something about that if you follow me on Instagram, because I've been pretty noisy about it. I thought that one was a really good book. That one was Silence of the Ravens by Sabrina Rogers. If you haven't seen anything from me on that, keep your eye out. I'll probably post a short about it on YouTube soon, and you can always check it out on my Instagram. So that's it. That's my that's my productivity and reading week. I would say weekend, but it's not really weekend. Just a couple of days I had off. So I'm curious to know, as the question of the day or question of the video, what do you do to keep yourself on task if you have things that you need to do? Do you make a list? Do you join productivity sprints on YouTube? Do you do a spinner wheel? I'd love to know what things you do to get the things done that you need to do, if anything at all. And if you're not feeling particularly chatty, you can leave me a emoji for a road or a car or something that represents a road trip. And until I see you next time, have a great week.